Hey, Kris here from Rasayana, and today's Ask Kris question comes from Michael Higgins in Somerville, Mass. Mike wants to know, do I use heat or ice after I've injured myself? That's a great question. I get a lot of it from clients. I get that question a lot from people who come into my office, and I can tell you this. You use both. For ice application or cold application, that is best during the first 24 to 48 hours after an injury. It's best to help manage swelling and edema, as well as inflammation and the resulting pain. That's when you want to use ice in an area to help constrict the vessels and squeeze out any fluid that might have gotten built up in an area of injury. Pain is also sometimes a result of nerve impulses and nerve firing or nerve injury. And so cold temperatures can help tamp that down a bit. That's when you want to use ice. It also helps to reduce swelling after an injury before you can be properly examined by a professional medical doctor. Oftentimes it's hard to know how to treat an injury so soon after it because the injury site has swollen so much. So use ice during those first 24, 48 hours after an injury in particular. Or if you don't have an injury, but you're just having general diffuse pain or even a sharp shooting traveling pain like a light, you definitely want to try ice in those instances. And just apply the ice pack for 15 minutes, 20 minutes at a time, and then take it off for 15, 20 minutes at a time. And do that on and off, back and forth for 2 to 4 rounds. Always making sure you have something in between the ice source and your skin. You can, injure yourself and get freezer burn. When I use heat, a heat pack is when I'm experiencing stiffness or a limit in my range of motion where I'm feeling very tight in a muscle. That's when I use heat. I also use a heat pack when I have applied an Ayurvedic Tylem to my body. So if I have an herbal formula that I've worked into my skin or a certain area of the body, like my knee, for example. Last week, after 2 hours of dance rehearsal in 2-inch heels, my knees were feeling a little cranky, a little irritable, and also really stiff. So I massaged them with some Ayurvedic oil. I used my Maha Narayan formula. And after massaging that in, I applied a warm compress, a warm soaked washcloth. That's what I used. So I just ran that under some hot water, as hot as I could tolerate it, wrung it out, and wrapped that around my knee after the oil application. And so what heat does is help dilate and expand those vessels in the body and allow for deeper penetration of those herbal formulas, allow for some therapeutic sweating in the area, which pushes out toxins from the body, and just generally allows for more lubrication around joint spaces, adding to that ease in your motion and range. So that's how I use hot and cold. I use for the heat a flaxseed kind of filled pack that I can put in my microwave for a few moments and then wrap around my shoulders and neck, or like I said, I'll use a warm soaked washcloth or hand towel for an area of my body if that's not available to me. I have sometimes gone back and forth between the two, hot and cold. I've done that therapeutically, usually for my knees. I'm a very active person, as a lot of you know, so between dancing and skiing and yoga and tennis, I use my body a lot outside of the work I do with my clients in the office. So oftentimes I will, for my knees, use both hot and cold and go back and forth to create this mechanical pumping of those blood vessels, of those lymph vessels, where they're constricting for 15, 20 minutes when I have ice on it, and then I'll take it off for 15, 20 minutes, let that relax and add heat and go back and forth. That can make your treatment site a bit throbby, yes, but as Dr. Rosie Mann, one of my teachers, told me, not all healing can be comfortable. So You can alternate between the hot and the cold if you're looking to manipulate this pumping action to get more of any fluid that's accumulated in the area out more efficiently. So play around with both, use those guidelines, and I hope that helps. If you have a question you want answered, write it in to Kris, Kris, at rasa-yana.com.